Man, 5 seconds in without Tim, and I am on my own here, huh? Hello, everybody. Good morning. To those of you where it is still morning, good afternoon. If some of you are in the afternoon and everything in between. For those of you who we haven't had the chance to meet individually yet, my name is Sami Zoss. I work with Tim at the Human Stack, and I was absolutely razzing him far too much for him to join me on today's episode going over Canvas. So he said, Sami, you are on your own. I don't want to present with you ever again. No, that's not what he said. He is actually presenting with one of our partners, Detroit Boxing Gym. He is at a summit. I need to pull up the name. He sent it to me, of course, and then I forgot. So they're presenting on the virtue of place in a virtual world, which is awesome. And they're actually at the Good Tech Fest, which absolutely tracks for Tim here today. So I invited another guest, and I'm going to see if I can bring him to the stage. There he is. Hi, Dan.
Wow.
How are you?
Good to see you, Sami. And of course,
Nice to
Tim's
see
not
you.
available.
I know. Isn't that just how that works always? Like and I was like, of course it's gonna be. And for those of you, like I called Dan about an hour ago and I was like, hey, you know how I feel about Canvas. Like, would you want to just jump on with me? And Dan's just like, yeah, sure, of course. Like, that's just what he does. So Dan's in the AI Upskillerator with me and the rest of the group, and then also definitely does a lot for the Human Stack. But he is the chief evangelist up there at the Furniture Bank as well. So thank you so much for joining me. I really
Well,
appreciate it.
thanks for having me. And,
I
and a good topic.
You can tell that Tim usually runs the tech here though, because like I got your name up here, but don't ask me how to move it to you at all.
It's okay.
No idea.
The name over there is me.
So I can be Dan today. You can be Sami. It's perfect.
Deal.
So Dan, we're gonna talk about a few things today. So in the middle of that conversation and hopping on, which really wasn't a big break, I went on Google Gemini's website just to be like, what are people using Canvas for? And I should back it up a little bit. For the people like cluing in here, Canvas is a tool that is usable across most AI, like generative AI platforms now. But one of the we're using it in Gemini today. But one of the things that it does is it essentially takes your ability to edit within like a chat, and you can like edit the text as it's going. So instead of it resending all of it to you, like say you're trying to have it help you write the most obvious one, like a simple but long email, and you want to make some edits to it or you want to suggest some things, instead of it resending you an entire new chat, what it's going to do is it is going to edit right in the canvas that it's pulled to the side. So that way, and then there's so many more features to it, but admittedly, I have not played with it much because I haven't found it to be that useful, other than I don't have to wait for a whole chat to come through. I feel like time-wise, it still takes about the same amount of time. I just don't lose old things. So I want to go over what actually Google says Gemini's use, like what's for Canvas here. But Dan, you were kind of talking to me. I think you'd said something to Tim and I, or you put it on our LinkedIn about how you felt like it was essentially a medium for another spot. Do you want to explain that just a little bit more?
So like the idea and concept of Canvas, ChatGPT has theirs, Anthropic has theirs. Everybody's got a Canvas. And when it first came out, it was for when you really start to engage with your favorite flavor of AI and you start chatting with it, you suddenly have like, and sometimes I could have 20 back and forths with the chatbot. And some of them are like, that was good, that was good, that was good. And a lot of times the way I use it is, that I like, that was pretty good. And so you end up collecting things. And then it became a whole copy paste, follow the bouncing ball, go to each chat, grab what you want, put it somewhere.
Yeah.
And for me, Canvas became well, rather than you leaving the tool, why don't we create a place for you to stay within the tool? So part of this is it's probably a business objective. Don't leave the chatbot. but I often use it as a place, as a temporary holding place for me to pull the relevant parts of my chat conversation into one place. I'm sure that is not how it was intended, because you can re-roll your chat, you can rework it, you can edit it directly, and essentially it behaves like Google Docs.
Yep.
Or Word document, or your other traditional document editor, with some added benefits. And like every AI tool, just because you try it the first time, you're like, you got to go back to it 6 months from now. So like Gemini is lucky in that it came late to the Canvas party.
Yeah.
And they've also integrated it to Google Workspace. And for me, it's about ergonomics. It's, can you put this in front of
Yes.
every single member of your team, from the super nerdy, me, to the least nerdy, and can they all get the same benefit out of it? And for me, Google's Canvas is way closer to that latter objective, that the least technical person would actually start to use Canvas, and as its big brother, the big blue button, export to docs, where everybody's comfortable.
So you saw me making faces while you were talking,
Yes.
right? Because and to give people preview of the reason why Dan is like so awesome for so many reasons. Clearly the best thing that he has going for him is that he's so much like Tim and I. That's obviously not true, but one thing I really appreciate about Dan is that he does have that just like, I'm gonna go figure it out curiosity like we do. And I always make the joke, like, I was a criminal justice major. I often feel like I have no business being in this space, but those tend to be the perfect type, right? Like when you
I'm a geographer.
have that curiosity. Yeah. I could go so far into like
anyone can be curious, and I think that's the important takeaway is today's the worst day AI will ever be. And if there's a tool you tried out 2 years ago and it sucked, it doesn't suck anymore. There may be a new feature that sucks, but
because so you're over here talking about it, right? And I'm looking at, so Google thankfully has like a how can I use Canvas page, and I'm gonna show that before I launch into what it just did for me. But I might be a convert after this call, actually, which is wild because I was like, I wonder.
I did the same thing. I pulled up an old chat and I said, go to Canvas, and it did something I haven't seen in any other tool. Again, I use Google Gemini almost every day, and this is a feature I'm discovering right now live. So I have a new AI forward fundraiser coming on board, and I was writing an orientation guide, and I had an old draft, and I took it into Gemini and said, help me improve this. That's all I said. And what came back was a document, the Canvas, but it also gave suggestions in line with the copy, versus the chat. How many times have we said, look at this document and give me back feedback? And you get all this feedback. And I'm like, where do I go? I'm literally staring on the screen next to me, like this thing highlighted, and sort of like commenting. It's highlighting a part of the canvas, and it's suggesting for clarity, briefly explain what a CRM system is, for example. And I can just hit apply. And it will.
Wow. Is that what you're building? Did you say it's like a job description or something a little more proprietary?
No, it's more of an orientation.
Like something that you would feel comfortable sharing?
Sure.
I was like, you want to share your screen and show us what you're talking about?
Sure, why not?
Is that all right? I would fully understand. I can make one for Unpack Me Quick.
No. It's totally fine. Yes, there it is. For those who are interested, if you're joining Furniture Bank, this is the beginning of an orientation manual for 2025. So we are, about, and this was an output from Gemini the other day when I was doing it, and I just pushed it into Canvas, and I think I said, please just make this a little clearer. Down there, suggest edits. That's what I did. I hit that button. And, we've all seen this output, but what we haven't seen is Google saying, this clause I recommend, and I'm just going to hit apply. And like everything, verify then trust. And it's updated it. So you can put in your drafts. It will analyze it and make suggestions. So we're going to keep going. I'm assuming it's got it right. Consider adding a more specific list of resources available for support. Now, I'm going to hit apply. It's going to be wrong, but you can. So just ergonomics wise, rather than getting feedback from an AI and then having to go hunt for it.
Yeah.
It's there.
Wait, before you hit apply.
Oh,
did
sorry.
You hit it? Sorry. I'm wondering if you can like reply to that comment. You know what I mean? Like the edit it was making. We'll see if any other ones pop up. So like where you can say like, hey, I agree, but these aren't the resources I would suggest. So you can almost give it.
Yeah, let's try. I just asked for more
I don't know
suggestions.
if you could click on it or.
I got show more. But it's.
If you click on the comment, does it do anything? Like just clicking on that?
No, it's apply. But let's go to expand menu. And I'm just looking at the interface. You can bold, you can highlight.
Yes, you can actually format right in there. Because yeah, you can then export this to Google Docs, which I will say is one of.
For me, it's my favorite button because because ultimately, very few of us are solopreneurs. Most of us have to collaborate with others. And all of the chat engines, do you have your team license? Well, how many organizations have 15, 20 paid licenses for ChatGPT? Nobody. But I can export this over to Docs. I'll do it live. And now it's in a format that every single employee is used to. And commenting, and you can still use Gemini.
Yeah. Right.
And, short and rephrase. And it's only an update away before you can start implementing the gems in here. Like when you look at just the tiny little things that Google, anybody in product already knows they're going to do, it's just a matter of when. Suddenly, I can go from an idea to a draft to something that is good enough to get in front of my team in minutes.
And not even good enough to get in front of your team. You could put it in front of your team.
Yes.
Like you can export it right to where you need it to be.
And that's the, it's not that most apps all have the notion of a canvas, but I always go back to the learning styles. Every person you meet comes from a different place, different education, different neurodiversity. Like it's all different.
Yeah.
So if I could get all of my crazy ideas, because I have many, into a Google Doc, the stress on my team having to put up with me having crazy ideas goes way down because they can see my thinking. I often will put, here's the prompt I gave it, here's the supporting documents I relied on, and here's the output, and my team can engage in the ways that are more comfortable to them.
And you're teaching them how to use the tool too. I mean, I think that's a little like it's not the main purpose, but it's such a subtle reminder that like, hey, here's how I built this. And you're reaffirming like, I used something to build this, but here's how I verified it. Here's how I adjusted. Here, like all of that stuff. You know, what's really interesting as you're talking, the piece that's really intriguing then after this is, and it's a later episode in our season here, and this is why Google's Workspace, even if I don't love Google's chat as much, which I'm finding, I think I'm just biased because everything I've been putting in during our live sessions have been
great.
Bomb. So I'm like, maybe they're awesome. And I just have been ignorant. But what we'll do then is we'll go through. So like we've created all these things, we've put them into Google Docs, and now how you can use Gemini to communicate with that, right? Like, so your team doesn't have to read everything you put in there. They can go to the Gemini over the workspace and be like, all right, what was Dan's like latest crazy idea? How does it affect my role? What do I need to know about it?
Yep.
Like, that's crazy. I can't wait to get to that now. I went into this episode so ready to be like, Tim hates me. He doesn't want to do Canvas.
And I'm going a little further. So another product, I don't know if you've talked about this on a live stream, is the deep research function. Again, every company has deep research. So I ran.
We're going to get into that one a little. I do want to see this, but
I
think we were going to ask you to come with us in a week or two.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. I'm going back to the Canvas. I use Deep
Oh, I know.
Research 2.5 Pro, and I'm just seeing what the Canvas result is. So when you use Deep Research
Okay.
in Google, you get back a canvas. And you can, the options you have at the end are you can export it to Docs to do all the things you can do in Docs. You can generate an audio overview.
Oh, back to our Notebook LM kind of. Is it a deep dive similar?
I
Maybe
haven't
we'll have to test
tried
out
it.
next time.
Yeah. And copy. So unlike the other chats, you essentially get it and take it. As you can see here, I'm trying to see who's going to fund AI in Canada. So Canvas has a place, and I in Google's case, they seem to have found the lane in the highway to use it to help with workflows of staff. In terms of, do I personally use the Canvas? I tend to do my work and then get it to Google as quickly as I can, but Canvas is an intermediate step. And the opportunity for it to help sort of look at what you're doing. And the nice thing with Gemini is it knows your organization. So as you teach it more, it knows aspects of Furniture Bank. You don't have to teach it because it's already part of that knowledge base.
This is awesome. So I'm going to share my screen now. I want to show you what I've been doing literally as we've started talking. And then I want to make sure I spend a little time just going over, because I want your thoughts on these too. I don't know if you've looked at just like
Nope, I haven't. Go ahead.
Overview of what Gemini Canvas can be used for. It's kind of awesome. So, okay, let me share my screen here. And I can't wait for just the day that it's funny because Tim and I, we get on these and we're like, oh, we could go forever, but not any other human wants to sit here and listen to us go for this long. Okay, so this is the screen I'm going to go over in a little bit, but I had asked it to, I was like, okay, help me build a check-in for my volunteers, right? Like super, super simple. Something that we need to do, like all of us need to do in some capacity. And so the initial one that I got was, and this is really interesting. This I think I wouldn't love as much actually about Canvas. Like I wouldn't want this in the Canvas, but the reason why it gave it to me straight in Canvas is because I clicked Canvas, right? Like you have to intentionally ask it to put it over there. Because this could all be in a chat and then give me in Canvas sort of what it is. But I loved this idea. One, I love that it gave me options. Like this is just something that I think I was not appreciating about Google is like, here's really simple. Here's spreadsheet, and not just like you could use a spreadsheet, but here is how you could set it up. Especially in something like a volunteer check-in that really can be pretty simple and automated without any fancy AI. Like you just need to know, you need to be dangerous enough in some formulas in your sheets that you're good. And so I love that it was basically like, hey, you can do this right in our infrastructure, like hang out. And I love that about Google. They're somewhat subtle. But I like that it's there. And then it gave me the like, we could literally HTML an entire check-in, simple form that fills it out. And hey, here's the HTML for you, right? And then
Sami,
it gave me over here the
can you
things you need
drop
with
in
it.
what it recommends to do? I've got Sheets up, and in Sheets, I can
Yeah.
drop in just a copy. And I just want to see if I copy that
Absolutely.
into Sheets, will it auto magically, because that's what we all want. We want
I think I need to send it over to you on Slack because it's not going to be too long. So I'm sending that to you over here. I'm going to have you work on that while I walk through the volunteer, because I did have it actually mock up the volunteer form.
No, please do. I think what we're just showing is this is what curiosity looks like. It's not complicated. It's just
you guys, I literally called Dan about 10 minutes before this thing started and was like, hey, you want to hop on with me and just ideate with me? So one, thank you, Dan, for just being willing to do that with us. But that's what we're trying to point out too, is like, we're all just learning and growing and like figuring this out together, because what we do know, ultimately the reason why, and Dan, you've heard Tim talk about this and we talk about it in the Upskillerator a lot, is one of the best tools for nonprofits. And you certainly know this as you've implemented it at Furniture Bank. But the reason why Google Workspace is one of the best tools is because it has all of this accessible and it is affordable for nonprofits. And so you don't have to buy a Canvas or like a chat LLM and then, Notebook LM is a whole separate piece, and then an AI for over your storage infrastructure, all of that. Like this is all together. And that's why we keep coming back to this. But it's also why like I don't know much about it because I'm a solo, like I hang out with Tim, I hang out with you. I don't need this infrastructure nearly as much as I did when I was working at the foundation, when I was working with my nonprofits. And so as we're learning, I mean, you're literally seeing Tim and I, half the time Dan's teaching us this stuff because he's in here doing it, because Tim and I are like, oh, let's see what this can do today. So I asked it, I was like, hey, I want to see, like, can you just prototype the check-in? Because it was reminding me that, like, hey, if you wanted to do a check-in with the HTML, you're going to have to do it with, you have to have like actual developer. But the nice part is you could send it to a developer. You say, hey, I want to do this. Here's the code. Does this work?
Yep.
But what I love about this is and you can do this in Claude, I think does it really well. But this happened in like 5 seconds, Dan. Like the other thing, so the faces I was making really early on in the talk were because of how fast this was.
Because every single audience understands that picture.
Yes.
And hell, I don't even know code anymore. I know what I want. And I think that's curiosity and being clear on what you want. You know, Canvas and Gemini like this can do it. I did paste literally what I wanted into Google Sheets, and I'm staring at a table with name, email, phone, check-in time, checkout time, and formulas. Like, in terms of, again, if you're not an Excel Sheets ninja, you could actually get going.
Look at this, Dan. I want to see yours, obviously. But like, look at how, so this is just the prototype, right? Like you could, in theory though, I could totally hack my way to using this.
No,
then I just copy it.
Yeah. So I'm looking, you know, if you search Gemini Canvas and you hit for work and pretend that's you, like their interactive price slider, I'm like, yes.
Yes, that's what made me think of it.
So a lot of it is most of us, myself included, don't see ourselves as programmers. And that's what I often talk about is we're at this moment of democratizing skills that none of us would have ever had. We now have, if we're curious and be clear on what we want. The skill of a programmer, I don't need to have. The skill of a videographer, I don't need to have. Doesn't mean I'm a specialist, but in terms of taking an idea and getting it live, Canvas is a great sandbox that staff would never imagine. Like some of my staff, I said, make a volunteer check-in or a price slider. They would have looked at me like I'd really lost it. And now it's like, no, just like go here and type this, and they will have their OMG moment. And then it begins. And so for me, it's always just that spark because we all learn at a different rate.
Okay, I want to see what it looks like on the sheets that you copied in over here.
Sure. Share.
And then I will
so
I'll put in the comments after the show what I sent to you to make this happen. So everyone knows.
So as most chats do, they provide a lot of introductory words. And then the conclusion, I stripped out the beginning and the end and looked at the actual explicit prompt. So if you're an Excel nerd, it did what it should, which is they've added the little hash so you can actually see the formula, but you've got name, you've got email, you've got phone, check-in time, checkout time, and then this little formula is if you don't like formulas, all you have to do is drop out this tiny little cell. And there's no information there, and you have a working spreadsheet. So in terms of getting people who are not comfortable making spreadsheets, they're clear with what they want in English. Suddenly they are 90% of the way to having not just a form, but a form and where the data sits and resides, and then you can have pivot tables and all of that other stuff.
Can you put a check-in and checkout time for Alice quick? Just see what happens. Because I know, like right now, it's using a formula there.
Yep. And you can see it's counting right now. So I'm just removing the little character.
I just wanted to end
looking
that
at if something is 0.
You have to remove the apostrophe at the end of that too, I think.
Thank you.
Oh, but the check-in and check-out is 0. Yep.
No, it works.
0
Formula
hours.
works.
Yep.
So let's
So it's just
say,
a matter of. So I guess that's a little bit of a translation thing too, of just making sure that. Which I think it was more just to walk you through it, but that's really
yeah.
interesting.
So
Oh,
I
look at
said
that.
now. I said now plus one. So the person's been here for 24 hours. So it
Oh, that's
works. Like, I think that's the important thing is it's never going to be perfect out of the first time, but nothing we've ever done in life, walking,
yeah.
crawling, singing, writing an essay,
Mhm.
it's never been perfect the first time. So I don't know why we keep thinking AI is meant to be perfect.
I know.
So, but yeah,
But that's like your comment about it getting us part of the way there is exactly right. I mean, I talked to a lot of my friends who do graphic design, and they have, a continual fear of like what AI can and can't do for that, like in their world. And I'm like, if they, especially some of my friends who are solopreneurs, I'm like, use it as an opportunity to show folks, like, take out your editing time. You're like
yes,
pre-brainstorming time. Hey, I'm going to have AI pop in a few of the ideas I'm thinking of.
mhm,
Your final product will be designed by me, but I want to save us the time of the back and forth. And let's just hop on for 20
yep,
minutes, ideate with the AI, and then I will get it curated for you in the way that you want it. But it'll help me get your feel,
yep.
your vibe, instead of sending I mean, it cuts out like a week and a half of back and forth time.
Because like I work with our grant writer, she loves writing. When she's not doing grants, she's writing her own books. She loves to write. She doesn't need AI for that. But when she's doing grants, she's using all she needs the funders prove children need beds. It's our reality.
Yeah.
So rather than her sifting through 400 pages of academia, I've given her a notebook LM that she can quiz based on the funder and what they care about, find the stats. So again, instead of historically, it was her sifting and sorting research, not a good use of her time, certainly not something she loves to do. And now AI is in the Google stack is allowing us to have control and comfort that what the grant writer is using is true. And for her, she can just focus on the grant writing and knowing that she's got quality research. So
Yeah.
this is all tied into Canvas, like everything we're talking about here. Probably 30 days from
Canvas just
now.
lets you see it and edit so much better. I actually didn't even realize when we'd started. I do use Canvas a lot more than I think. I just don't use it in a way that, like, now my mind is like blown, right? So I'm
Well,
gonna
and
sprint through what the like Google shows for Gemini, because I want to try and keep closer to that 30-35 minutes, and I want to tell people about a couple other opportunities,
yeah,
but
go.
I want to show also. But I'm sitting here thinking like the amount of things I could have been doing with this, like the editing, the suggesting. Holy smokes! You know how nice that would have been, instead of being like, "Hey, give me ideas," or just
Or
pop them right in the canvas. Of
or you've got
course.
a Grammarly account that you're paying for that suddenly you don't need. Like a lot of it
Yes.
is allowing you to simplify your
Oh,
tools. So yeah,
this is the
all of
coolest
those.
thing. I like. This is the worst actually, because I'm like, now I'm gonna sit here and use like, I'm not gonna get anything done because I'm just gonna use Gemini all day, but that's fine. Okay, so I want to show. So I was looking quite literally a few minutes before because my plan today, honestly, Dan, like I posted on LinkedIn, but I was serious. My plan was to sit back, let Tim try and convince me Canvas was worth it, and like make fun of him the whole time. And then of course Tim's like, "Hey, I got the timelines mixed up, or the like time zones mixed up," which totally fair. I'm presenting with Detroit Boxing Gym. What do you want to do? And I was like, "Well, we're not going to cancel. We don't need to do that. Like, again, curiosity doesn't need to be prepped. That's for sure." So I literally like, SOS, what can I do on Canvas? And I'm like, thankfully, Google's got some awesome things here. And this is, Dan's already mentioned this. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit because if people are
Yeah.
like me, they're a little blind. But polished deliverables, of course, like that's sort of the near what we were seeing with what you were
Yes.
doing.
Yes. Yes.
Then you've got prototyping, which is similar to what we were just doing.
Yes.
And then also this is actually kind of wild. Because this is one that like, it's a prototype, but like you wouldn't have to actually build this if it's created like you don't have to pull it out of Canvas. So if you're like, if you have a product for people, you could just send this because you don't need it to communicate out anywhere. It's just an artifact.
This is like an interactive donation slider.
Yes.
Sometimes like,
Woo!
oops, price. I don't do price. It's a donation slider. And a lot of it is if you have an outsourced web designer, like if you know what you want and you can give them the
I need to write
picture,
that down.
they will develop it far better than can you imagine an image, a pricing selector? They'll go away and imagine it for you, and that's oftentimes not what you want.
Oh, that's cool though. I love the interactive, because think about like your events as a nonprofit, right? Like make it a fun little like choose your sponsorship, and it's a little slider here instead of I didn't even think of that. This is why.
Full disclosure, I'm a big fan of Fundraise Up because they do a lot of this and have it all tied in beautifully into Salesforce. So, but in terms of,
well, in the integrations,
I think the important part here is people who didn't think they were programmers and people who think they couldn't visualize to their internal team who's doing this work or an external vendor. If they're clear on what they want, they can create those visualizations that they can literally say, this is kind of what we want.
Yes.
And the first version back will be pretty darn close versus the wasted cost and time of people playing 20 questions. Did you mean this? Did you mean that?
So I loaded a few of these ones, right? Like I just want to sprint through these. Like I said, if Tim was here, he'd probably tell me I have to stop talking, but he's not. So we get to. This is kind of that bit here. And yes, this is like, that's not going to go anywhere. But that's what we were just talking about. This is that 3D planet generator, which I think it's literally just like, I thought maybe you could, and I bet you could add to it, but I thought it was like a describe your world and then it'll give you more, but this is just more. This was one of the prototyping mock-ups that it gave, which I think one of the underrated uses of AI like this is when you have someone who is so technically advanced that they struggle to articulate to those of us. And the go-to right now, and completely fair, is basically like, help me explain this to people who don't understand it. Absolutely. Like that will get you there. But being able to like, how can I show this visually? Like you said, like those different learning styles.
Well,
how can I show what I'm talking about here? Why this is important, how easy it can be, etc.
And then your team who aren't product people can say, oh, what about, and add this, and what about and add that, because it's in an interface that they engage with. So it's a translator of technical reality to the business or organization objectives.
Their prototyping is really good.
Yeah.
This is crazy. This is the one that I was baffled by, and I will probably be playing with for the rest of the day though. So you can add this is just an education tool, right? Like this was on the for students. You can add particles, and then it shows you the different, like how the different behaviors affect it. It's like gravity. Obviously, everything's just repulsions where they're like going like, so you can see them like if I drop a particle here.
Oh, love it.
This is so fun. Think if you're a teacher or like any sort of education, being able to like ideate. Oh my gosh.
Homeschooling
crazy.
Just got a lot easier.
Okay, so I could nerd out about, clearly I am a convert, which is actually hilarious. All things considered. I want to give a couple shout outs before we head out, but first and foremost, Dan, thank you so much. If I could, I would love to put, if nothing else, a drop to Furniture Bank website so people can see what you do. And I'm going to do that on the live after we're done. I'll put it in the comments and I'll make sure it's in the share. Because thank you so much for just being willing to hop on. I think me talking by myself, as much as I absolutely can do it, I'm so all over the place sometimes that it is really nice to have somebody to be like, hey, let me bring that down to like life for you. And I'm going to actually add a QR code right now that people can see right on the stream if they are interested in learning more about Furniture Bank.
And the link I gave you is really how we've been using AI since 22 in our little experiments as we go. So
again, as you can tell, Tim does it's up in the corner here right now. So sorry, I can't figure out how to make it bigger. Because here we are. Good. I'll learn this stuff another day. And I'll make sure this is in the chat, but you can also just find Dan at furniturebank.org. He and furniturebank.org/postcard is what he's got up here. So if you're just listening and want to check it out later, Dan's really, really, he is just like it's the curiosity that you have, right? Like, and it's not that you don't have the technical skill or anything like that, but I've never felt like you're explaining it to me in a way that I feel like I don't have the same ability to get exactly where you are, which I love that about the way that you approach this. Yeah. So one, just thank you so much for hopping on with me so last second. And I love our little human stack group and the work that we do. I do want to add one last, I put it up again. It's in the corner here because I don't know how else to do it. But Fundraising AI, they have an annual completely free summit, and they just launched the registration for it. It's in September. Like you said, it's absolutely free. It's like 2 days. You get some of the absolute best names there. And I'm sure between Dan, Tim, and I, like we will be in and out of there as well. But all three of us in different capacities serve with fundraising.ai as well, on their advisory council and through marketing and through a few other things. So just want to always give a plug for that. And then the last bit that I always like to do is ask, and I don't know if I have I don't know if Tim's got a QR code for it right now. So I'll put it in the chat, but I always like to remind people that like Dan, myself, we've got some other folks in the human stack ecosystem. We hang out and do this stuff every week in the Upskillerator. It's usually right after this call. So please consider checking that out. I will. Yeah, I'll make sure I put that in the links right after this. But we have such a good time, and it's literally stuff like this, right? So what we do is instead of presenting it to you, it's a little bit more advanced, but not by much. Like you can come in with just as much access, and like if you come in with a curiosity, that's all you need to have.
That's all you need.
Yep. Because then we just explore. I mean, Dan and I are we're working with Descript right now, and Dan and I both last week were looking at Tim trying to explain it. We're like, hey, can we just like come in next week and all plan to like kind of work through it together? Because seeing it is one thing, but when you really get into these, sometimes you just need to play.
That's how we all learn the AI. Playing.
Yeah, clearly I'm now going to be like a Gemini convert because of today. So, and it's only because I went into play. So I want to say thank you so much. Best of luck to Tim at the Good Tech conference that he is at with Detroit Boxing Gym. We are so excited. I love that Tim's always out there like representing the good in tech. Like it doesn't matter. That's always where he's at, because that's just what the human stack stands for. And it's been so fun to like sort of meld into this community with you all. So pumped for him. Excited to have him back next week. I am making him present the whole time. I think I've done all three now. So he's in charge. I'm going to sit back and laugh at him. But in the meantime, thank you so much, Dan. And we will see you all next week.